Got a 2013 Kia Soul. Gonna do front brake pads and rotors. What you need to do is jack it up to support it properly, remove your front tires, and you need to remove your caliper. In order to remove the caliper, you got two caliper bolts, one here and one here. Now this brake line kind of protrudes over the bolt, so I took a flat blade screwdriver and I pried that line over just a little bit so I can get my socket on my bolt. Okay, you don't want to do it too much because you don't want to snap it off. You just want to bend it just a little bit. Okay, had to do that to the other side also. So once we get these off, all right, we can go ahead and remove the rotor. Go underneath the caliper, lift it up, pull it out of there. And you got your caliper. Caliper's off. All right. So now what you want to do is you want to inspect your caliper piston boot. Make sure it's not torn or any fluid leaking out of it. If it's not, and so far so good. And what you'll need to do is push the piston in. You can use an old pad, put in front of it, and a C-clamp, squeeze it together, or if you had the tool, the ratcheting tool that spreads it open, you can use that also. If you can't push it in, then you might have a line pinched, or possibly you might have a defective caliper. The piston might be frozen in it. Then what you need to do is remove your caliper bracket, and it's held on by two 17mm head bolts in the back. This is what they look like, and I got mine loose, and those are usually pretty tight. Sometimes they'll rust inside the knuckle. And they do have washers on them. They'll rust inside the knuckle, right around in here. So sometimes they'll snap off if they're frozen in there. Next thing you need to do is remove the rotor. But it's held on by the fasteners with the Phillips heads, and you'll need an impact driver to loosen them up with a nice Phillips head bit. What you do is you put it on there and you turn it the direction you want it to loosen, because these things have a ratchet inside of them, and you hold it to that loosened position and you smack it real hard with your mini sledge and it breaks them loose. It helps put a little bit of penetrant fluid on them beforehand, and once you get them loose, then you can go ahead and smack the rotor. If you're not using the rotor, because you're gonna put dents in it, smack the rotor with your mini sledge, and the vibration breaks it loose. Get my screws out and hit it with the hammer. Came loose. Get it out of there. And this surface on the hub has to be nice and clean. No high spots. To clean it up best you can. Because if you have a high spot, the rotor's not going to fit flat. And it's going to wobble. And that'll give you a brake pulsation. And you don't want that. So you want to get it nice and shiny. Looking like that. So then you can put some fine film Vanities on it, and then you'll be ready for your rotor to go on. And I got my piston pushed in on this one with the tool. And also on your caliper bracket, you need to remove your pads and your hardware bundle clips. And you need to clean that surface under there, get that all cleaned up because it gets all rusty. And when it rusts, it expands and then it pinches the pads, and the pads don't want to slide back and forth properly. And also, your slide pins need to be not frozen. So what you need to do is take them out, clean them up, and put some new Sil-Glide on the pins. And do not fill this up with Sil-Glide. You will not be able to compress the pin back in unless you remove the Sil-Glide. What I'll do is I'll clean them up, and then I'll spray paint them, and then I'll let them sit until I'm ready to go back together. This is how you use a C-clamp to push your piston back in. Here's my caliper brackets. Got them pretty cleaned up. All I'm gonna do is paint them. Also, I'm going to put some lube on my caliper slide pins. And remember, the bottom one gets the bushing. So we have to paint on them. Okay, I got the passenger side one cleaned up. What I'll use is this for starters, and then I'll use this to go in here. Nice brand new sharp flat blade screwdriver to clean the rust inside there. Use two hands, one to push on, one to push it this way, and one to push it down onto it. And then I'll use this one to go over the lug nuts and help clean it up generally. Fine film matrices on your hub, the whole hub inside there, which is good. Put your rotors on, make sure you wash the shipping oil off of them with soap and water. Put them on, I just snugged up my retainer screws, no big deal. Now I got my brackets prepped, you got my hardware in there, my abundant clips. Push them in there, make sure they're not sticking over. Gonna be hitting the rotor. And now next we can get them in there and get our bolts started and snugged up. And then we'll go ahead and torque them. If you want, you can put a little bit of anti-seize right here. And it'll help prevent them from seizing in the knuckles. Just a little bit. All right, got the caliper bracket mounted. Got the bolts snugged up. If you want to put Loctite on your threads, a little bit of blue, that's up to you. You can go right ahead. You just have lock nuts. And the main important thing is that you torque them. The torque spec is 72 foot-pounds on the caliper bracket bolt torque. All right, so now we got those torqued. Need to get our brake pads in there. On the inner pad, takes a squeaker, and you want to mount that towards the rotation of the rotor. So go on top on the inside. So you want to get it lined up on these. And then you also want to just push on that. These act like a little spring. And do the same thing when you get to the top. So I stick it in there. I get the bottom mounted. I get the top one close. And I push it in towards the center of the rotor. So I can line up my little notch, and then it clips in. You heard it snap in there. Just put that in there like that. Get that over there. Yeah. There we go. There she bees. Now I can put my caliper on there, push these in so I can get past the little mounts and get my bolts and get them started. I'll take my caliper, I'll slide it in there like that. As you're doing that, you want to push this slide pin in so you can get it past it. Get it in there, and then you push this slide pin in and push the rest of the way in there. Get your bolts in there, get them snugged up, and then you want to tighten them and torque them to 23 foot-pounds. All right, and then you want to make sure that this line is nice and straight and not twisted. If it's twisted, then you got to unbolt it and straighten it out, okay? So now you can do the other side the exact same way, just on the other side. And then put your tires on, torque your lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Go ahead and lower it down to the ground, and go ahead and go inside the vehicle, start it, push the brake pedal to the floor a couple times. Make sure you got a decent firm pedal. Go ahead and shut it off, open your hood, and find your brake reservoir for your master, and double check your fluid level. And before you add any, make sure you put the right fluid type in there. So that will complete your front brake pads and caliper, brake pad and rotor replacement. So hopefully I helped you out. If I did, hopefully you can help me out by subscribing to me. And I just want to thank you and good luck.